No, I think that's right. And so there's a few different strands of thought that kind of go into what we call the
Yeah.
movement. Few would actually self-identify that way, but that's
Right.
what the colloquialism is. I think there's three things. First, as I mentioned, just extreme risk aversion in one's own neighborhood. And that, for a lot of people, I think overrides the basic sense of need for individual property rights. I think a lot of people who own homes are willing to forego their ability to build to tear down their single family house and build a set of townhomes because they don't have any intention of doing that.
Right.
But meanwhile, they don't necessarily want their next door neighbor doing that because they don't know exactly, and or rather, unless they know exactly what the
Right.
outcomes of that are going to be, and the future is unpredictable. So status quo wins. And furthermore, if you own a property, you have a financial incentive, just like any owner of anything does, in limiting your competition. And so part of
Right.
the NIMBY movement is just pure self-interest, which I'm not intrinsically opposed to. The
Right.
problem is only when you form something like a pseudo cartel with your neighbors and use the authority of the state to impose the
Mhm.
lack ability to compete in nearby. And particularly when that competition is not something like a high-rise apartment and something like two homes where there was one. So I think that's two parts of it. And then on the other side of the sphere, thinking about people who are kind of more theoretically opposed to development, you get people who are kind of anti-growth generally, and more specifically anti-market and anti-profit. So there's a lot of people who are kind of on the far left and might be called NIMBYs because they only want property development insofar as it's guaranteed by government to be available either at low prices or price controlled, whatever the thing is. And in practice, a lot of government restriction on the price of housing also restricts supply and pushes
Right.
that issue up towards the middle of the income bracket.